Hi, our next challenge is entitled Valid Zip Code. Zip codes consist of 5 consecutive digits. Given a string, write a function to determine whether the input is a valid zip code. A valid zip code is as follows. Must only contain numbers, no non-digits allowed, must not contain any spaces, and must not be greater than 5 digits in length. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. There are no notes here. See the examples? The first one, just straight up 5 numbers, good. The second example is invalid for a letter character in there. Example 3 is bad because of the space. And the final example is bad because it has 6 digits in it. So, let's go over to code. And remember to pause and give an honest attempt at this. Come back when you're ready. As you may have suspected, I'm going to use regular expressions. Very powerful and a good use right here. So, I think you remember the general idea here. We kind of make a pattern. We use the regex class to try and match it on some input. And yeah, let's go over that. So for ours, we're looking for 5 digits and that's it, nothing else. So I'm going to start by making a pattern. And let's review this page. If you remember from previous videos, it gives us some ideas on how to build these regex patterns. So I'm going to shoot down, character classes, and I'm looking for digits. And look at this, they have one, matches any decimal digit. I think we did this with area codes and phone numbers before, but it's backslash lowercase d. Notice if you use an uppercase d, it does the inverse. It kind of gets things that aren't numbers. So we'll use that to look for digit input, but we need exactly 5, right? So we got to make sure we do that. I'm going to achieve this by using these anchors. Note this is the beginning of the string and this represents occurring at the end of the string. And then I believe this quantifier section tells us how to match an exact number. So we use these curly braces, they enclose a number that gives the size. So I'm going to kind of put that all together to make a pattern here. So we saw backslash d for digits. We saw we can specify an exact number in the curly braces. Now you might think this is okay as is, but we'll see that with some input this won't quite work. It'll come up short, and that's why I showed you those anchors with the remember the caret and the $sign to denote the end. So we said it has to happen at the beginning and the end, essentially that this comprises the whole text. We're not accepting anything else. And then you may also remember that we had to use this @ symbol with the string to say, hey, don't worry about these backslashes. You don't have to escape anything. Treat this entire string as a string literal. You don't have to worry about escaping at all. So that's why we put the @ symbol there. If you don't believe me, you can take that out and run it and see that it will try to escape characters and it will crash. Then we know we have this regex class here. We can check that quick. So we had regex, it has a match method. We've used this, see, string and a string. And we see it returns a match object. That may be a little different than you're expecting. You may be expecting to get a Boolean back, and you kind of do through the match. But notice this usage. Regex match, input, pattern. You get a match object, and then this match object has a property called success. And that's the Boolean we need. So, let's follow their pattern. Match equals regex. Match. I believe our input is zip, right? That's what was passed in. And then we'll give it our pattern to analyze. And then we can say return match. We saw it has a success property. So let's try this. I think we're good. Nice. So yeah, we hit it. Exactly 5 numbers. We don't care what the numbers are. Be 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 6, you know, any order, we don't care, just that they're numbers. And so it might be helpful to show. Let me show what can go wrong here. Again, if you hadn't had that @ symbol, it's gonna yell at us. See, unrecognized escape sequence \D, and we don't want it to try and do any funny stuff. We're just passing it off to the regex to let it work its magic with that input. So just say, hey, calm down, you don't have to do anything special with this, it's just a string. And then the other thing that may have thrown you off and had you pulling your hair out was if you tried something like this. See, we're mostly good, right? But we failed on a couple. This looks like the 4th test failed. 1, 2, 3, 4. And see, it was with 6 integers, which is kind of right, but, you know, 6 comes up short, and you're saying, well, you know, I said 5, and yeah, that pattern does match. Look, here are 5 digits. You know, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. It's just may not be clear. So that probably could have caused some confusion. Here's another match right there. You know, 5 digits. So yeah, those anchors really come to the rescue here, where we can kind of sandwich it in and say, look, this is the entire thing. You could just do starts with 5 digits and then it would match. You could have letters and characters afterward and it would catch this. Similarly, you could have just the end. It just ends with 5 digits, so you could have a bunch of letters and then 5 numbers and you'd get a match. But if you sandwich this whole thing, you're saying basically the whole thing is 5 digits and that's it. There's nothing else going on there. So I'll put that back in, make sure it runs, and I'll submit it to get credit for the challenge. But yeah, hopefully you were able to use regular expressions. Hit me up as needed. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.